Steve Grace, Turkey Bowmaster here. I'm going to do a little piece on how to sharpen Simmons or any concave broadhead. Now, the three most important things you need to know before sharpening the Simmons is number one, you got to use sharpening tools that have a curved edge or some type of rounded edge to put your objects on that you're going to use to sharpen with. The concave edge just won't conform to your flat object, so you want to get rid of all of them. The second thing you need to know about sharpening, and this applies to any object, is you need to get your bevel keener than the finishing edge. If you don't get your bevel keener than your finishing edge, then you'll never get your broadhead or anything sharp. And the third thing you need to know, and this applies to any broadhead, is to sharpen in the right direction. Now, I've got several sharpening tools here. I've got the sandpaper on the sander, on the rotary sander. And sandpaper's a little bit overused. I need to get a new piece, but anyway, I've got the Rada sharpener. I've got the little Sharpie. I've got the diamond, whatever that is, rod. I got the ceramic that's combined with the diamond stone. I've got the black hard Arkansas stone here, and I've got the compound here that you put on cardboard or leather, and I've got the 2000 grit sandpaper. Now, when you're sharpening Simmons, the most important thing is get rid of all your flat objects. I also got the file. It's a little triangular file, but it's basically a flat file. You want to get rid of this. You want to get rid of the flat stone. You want to get rid of the diamond stone here, but you want to keep the rounded ceramic rods. You want to keep anything rounded, and you'll want to move your cardboard with a compound to a rounded countertop edge, or put it on a broom handle or something, and sandpaper's the same way. Bring it to a rounded edge. If you're not using a rounded edge, you'll never get to this portion of the broadhead that's concave. You'll be able to get to this tip that's actually convex at a portion, but you won't be able to get to the concave part. And look, at the most important part about sharpening a broadhead is in this last concave area right here, because that's the widest portion. You definitely don't want it to be dull. You want the whole thing to be sharp, but you definitely don't want this last quarter-inch to be dull, and you will never get that sharp on a flat object. The second thing you want to learn, and that's to get your bevel at a lower angle than your finishing edge. And you want to start with your more aggressive cutting tools to get your bevel. This head here is pretty dull. It's been shot in the dirt, through a deer and into the dirt, or missed a deer, I don't know which. But anyway, you want to start off with a lower bevel angle. And let me do a little something. I'll draw something out here on cardboard to show what, if you don't get your bevel at a keener angle than your finishing edge, I'm gonna show you why you'll never get your broadhead sharp. This is a little bit crude here, but let's say you get a steep bevel. You use your sanding rig to get a real steep bevel, and then you're trying to get your finishing edge, and what you're trying to finish with is coming across an angle like this, or even worse, like this right here. You're not sharpening the broadhead. You're not even getting to the tip. You're not touching it. This is not a rule. This is not a suggestion. This is a rule. You'll never be able to sharpen your broadhead if your bevel you have created is too coarse, and the tool you're using to really sharpen the edge is more keen. You'll be sharpening the back of the bevel instead of the tip. You want it to look more like this. Once again, this is crude. This is going to be maybe represent a 20-degree bevel that you created, and this more like probably a 28-degree, where you're really just working the tip, and that's a little bit severe. But it's just an example. Now, those of you who use a KME might say, well, I keep it on a 20-degree angle the whole time, but you're really probably changing that angle with pressure. because everything gives. If you're putting more pressure on to create a bevel, you're flexing the jig, you're flexing the blade, you're probably knocking that 20-degree bevel down to about an 18-degree bevel, and then as you lighten up pressure, you come back to the 20. So you're inadvertently doing what you need to do, even though you're not changing the angle on the little jig. You're still changing it with pressure. But anyway, the third thing that I want to add to this, and this is the most important thing when sharpening broadheads, any broadhead, and you want to sharpen it in the right direction. Any of these sharpening tools I showed you, except maybe with the exception of the Rada, is directional sharpening. It's like a saw. It's like like a hand saw that you'd cut a 2x4 with. It cuts on the push stroke. A little light duty pruning saw with a little flimsy blade, it cuts on the pull stroke. And the broadheads are the same way. They have a directional cutting. They cut better in one direction than they do the other, and that's based on how you sharpen it. Now, when I'm creating a bevel, now this really creates a lot of grooves here. This is rough sandpaper, and it's the belt is running in this direction, so I want to hold the broadhead like this to create my bevel. I'm on this rounded edge here. Now I can come up on the tip, I can come up on the flat part right here, but on the curved part, I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna work my way up like that. With it running that way, that's gonna put these grooves facing forward. You want it to be like a tractor tire. The way a tractor tire is, you've got these grooves. One direction, the tractor tire pushes the mud and the loose sand out. It gets better traction that way. The other direction, in reverse, it pulls all that stuff in. Well, that's what you want a broadhead to do, is pull all the loose stuff in. You'll cut a bigger hole in the hide that way, and especially in soft lung tissue, that's where it really works best. You might take a 2-inch Simmons and cut a 2.5-inch hole through soft lung tissue and even the hide if you sharpen it in this manner. If you sharpen it in reverse, it pushes material away instead of pulls it in, and that's not what you want. Now I'm gonna go over this again on this creating a bevel with this sander. It's running this direction, so I'm gonna hold the broadhead in this angle. I'm gonna turn it around, hold it in this angle, and that's gonna put the grooves in the right direction. When it comes to finishing up, and I like to finish up on this right here, this ceramic, you want to start at the tip and push forward. That gets the grooves in the right direction. When you're using a slice angle, where using a tool that's best to slice into instead of pull back, you want to start at the tip and go forward. That gets your grooves the right way. When you're using a pulling action, you'll do just the opposite. Say I'm finishing up on this cardboard, you pull away on it. I'm gonna start at the back and pull away. That's gonna get all those micro grooves going forward where they're gonna grip and cut better. I can tell the difference just by rubbing my finger down the blade when it's sharp. One direction, it bites and cuts. In the other direction, it just kind of slides across. I'm gonna see if I can get this thing sharp on both sides in roughly 1 minute. And I'm gonna use the Rada on one side, the sanding rig on the other to create the bevel, and I'm gonna finish it on these ceramic rods, and we'll just see how quick I can. All right, I don't know what I'm gonna use for a timer. I don't have anything. I'm gonna just count in my head. 15 seconds with the sanding rig, and then 15 seconds on the other side with the Rada, and then sharpen it. And it's dull. It's not extremely dull. It's been shot in the ground once or twice. Other side and do the Rada. I'm not getting all the way to the back. I got to turn this broadhead around to get right at the back on the rider. That's probably the right direction. It's a little difficult. Turn it around, try to start right at the back. All right, that's all I'm gonna do. This is the rider. Whoo! Ready to hunt with. I didn't clean my ceramic rods before I started this. I should have. Woo! More than ready to hunt with. Both sides are ready to hunt with. This sand and paper side is really the better side. There you have it. I just took a dull Simmons, turned it ready to hunt with on both sides with the sanding rig and the rod sharpener. Sanding rig worked a little bit better, but and finished it off on the ceramic. I could finish it off a little more on this. Now the sandpaper, I really like this sandpaper. It gives, it's not the smoothest sharp in the world. It's that kind of rough, but very sharp at the same time edge. I'm really gonna do a lot of experimenting on that. I think it's probably gonna cut a little bigger hole in the hide, but that'll be a subject for another video. Turkey Bowmaster out.